Beneath gray skies and along the slow, tidal breath of the River Thames stands a city that has never truly stopped becoming itself. London is not merely a place on a map. It is a living archive of conquest and resilience, of fire and rebirth, of empire and reinvention. Long before glass towers pierced the clouds and underground trains roared beneath its streets, this land was marsh and forest, walked by tribes who could not have imagined the civilization to come. Across 2,000 years, armies marched here, kings were crowned and executed here, plagues emptied its streets, and flames nearly erased it from existence. Yet again and again, the city returned, larger, louder, and more influential than before. London became the heart of an empire upon which the sun never set, a refuge during humanity's darkest wars, and eventually a global crossroads where cultures from every continent converged. Its story mirrors the story of modern civilization itself, the rise of trade, the birth of democracy, the machinery of industry, and the struggles of modern identity. Each generation reshaped the city, leaving behind layers of ambition carved into stone and memory. To understand London is to walk through time itself, from Roman outpost to global metropolis, following a journey shaped not by destiny, but by survival. In the dawn of an age long before written chronicles, the valley of the River Thames existed as a quiet frontier shaped by nature rather than empire. Dense oak forests stretched across southern Britain, broken only by marshlands and winding waterways that shimmered beneath cold northern skies. Here lived Celtic tribes, small, scattered communities bound not by cities, but by kinship, ritual, and survival. Timber roundhouses clustered along higher ground, safe from seasonal floods, while smoke from hearth fires drifted into misty mornings. Life followed the rhythm of the earth, planting, hunting, and migration dictated by changing seasons. The river was both lifeline and boundary, offering fish, transport, and connection. Though no grand city yet stood, the land already held a quiet importance, a crossing place waiting for history to notice. Across these waterways moved traders and warriors, carrying goods crafted by skilled hands, bronze tools, woven textiles, animal hides, and ornaments shaped from iron newly mastered by Celtic smiths. Paths formed naturally along ridges and riverbanks, evolving into early trade routes that linked tribes across southern Britain and beyond the sea to continental Europe. Exchange brought not only materials but ideas, strengthening alliances and rivalries alike. Tribal leaders gained influence through generosity and strength, while Druids preserved knowledge through oral tradition, guiding spiritual life beneath sacred groves. Archaeological traces reveal ritual deposits placed carefully into the Thames, offerings to unseen forces believed to govern fortune and survival. Yet beneath this fragile balance lingered uncertainty, as shifting climates and intertribal conflicts reminded communities how quickly stability could fade. Despite hardship, these early inhabitants forged a lasting relationship with the landscape, shaping pathways that future generations would unknowingly inherit. Wooden trackways crossed wetlands, and simple river crossings marked the narrowest points of the Thames, locations chosen not by design, but by necessity and instinct. Over centuries, repeated movement transformed wilderness into recognizable corridors of travel and trade. Though no walls enclosed them and no written records preserved their names, these communities established the geographic logic that would define London's destiny, a meeting place between regions, cultures, and ambitions. The land itself became the silent architect of the future city, and as distant horizons stirred with the expansion of a rising Mediterranean power, the quiet tribal world of the Thames stood unknowingly on the edge of transformation, awaiting the arrival of Rome. In the year AD 43, beneath the disciplined march of iron-shod sandals, the Roman Empire crossed the shores of Britain. Ordered ranks of soldiers advanced through unfamiliar forests and mist-covered rivers, carrying with them not only weapons, but a vision of empire built on roads, law, and permanence. Under Emperor Claudius, Roman forces pushed inland, seeking control of trade routes and strategic crossings. Along the River Thames, commanders recognized a natural advantage, a narrow, navigable point ideal for commerce and defense. Here, amid muddy banks and scattered tribal paths, construction began. Timber wharves rose from the water, tents gave way to wooden buildings, and Londinium was born, not as a grand city, but as a calculated foothold of imperial ambition. Within a generation, Londinium transformed with astonishing speed. Roman engineers carved straight roads through wilderness, linking the settlement to distant forts and markets across Britannia. Merchants arrived from Gaul and beyond, filling riverside warehouses with wine, olive oil, metals, and textiles carried across the empire's vast trade network. The sounds of construction echoed constantly, hammers striking timber, carts grinding against stone, voices speaking Latin alongside local dialects. Forums and bathhouses introduced Roman social life, while administrative buildings imposed imperial order upon the frontier. Yet prosperity proved fragile. In AD 60 or 61, the Iceni Queen Boudica led a powerful uprising against Roman rule. Her forces swept toward Londinium, and as panic spread through its streets, Roman authorities made a brutal decision. Outnumbered and unable to defend the settlement, Roman officials evacuated Londinium, abandoning it to rebellion. Boudica's warriors burned the city to the ground, reducing warehouses, homes, and streets to ash. Archaeological layers of charred debris still testify to the destruction, a moment when imperial certainty nearly collapsed on Britain's frontier. Yet Rome's response was swift and decisive. After crushing the revolt, the empire rebuilt Londinium with greater ambition and permanence. Stone replaced timber, organized streets emerged, and defensive structures reinforced authority. Law courts, markets, and infrastructure embedded Roman governance into daily life, transforming a vulnerable outpost into Britannia's commercial heart. From the ashes of ruin, a stronger city rose, proof of Rome's resilience and control. Thus began an urban legacy that would endure long after Roman legions themselves faded from Britain's shores, leading toward an uncertain age of withdrawal and transformation. In the early 5th century, beneath the fading authority of a weakening empire, Roman Britain began to unravel. Across Europe, the Roman Empire struggled against invasions and internal crisis, and distant provinces could no longer rely on imperial protection. Around AD 410, Roman legions withdrew from Britain, summoned back to defend the heart of the empire itself. Londinium, once alive with merchants and officials, suddenly stood exposed. Stone buildings echoed with emptiness as administration collapsed and trade ships ceased their regular arrival along the Thames. Without soldiers or centralized rule, urban life faltered. Markets fell silent, maintenance ceased, and the carefully ordered rhythms of Roman civilization slowly dissolved, leaving a proud city facing an uncertain and fragile future. As decades passed, Londinium's streets began to surrender to time itself. Roofs collapsed under relentless rain, weeds pushed through cracked stone pavements, and once busy bathhouses fell into ruin. Trade networks that had connected Britain to continental Europe fractured, forcing communities to retreat into smaller, self-sufficient settlements beyond the old Roman walls. Anglo-Saxon groups gradually established nearby villages, favoring defensible farmland rather than abandoned urban centers. The great city did not vanish overnight. Instead, it faded quietly, its monuments standing like silent witnesses to a lost order. Yet the Roman walls still dominated the landscape, guiding movement and settlement patterns. Travelers crossed through broken gates, walking among ruins that hinted at forgotten grandeur, unaware that these remnants would soon shape a new society emerging from uncertainty. Amidst the decay, seeds of renewal quietly took root. Small communities reused Roman foundations, blending imported building techniques with Anglo-Saxon traditions. Christianity spread along these fragile networks, offering spiritual cohesion and fostering new forms of social organization. Memory of the city's past lingered in walls, roads, and river crossings, preserving a subtle blueprint for future urban life. Londinium, though diminished, had not truly vanished. It had entered a liminal state, a city in waiting. From the ashes of imperial withdrawal, a pattern emerged: survival through adaptation, continuity through transformation. Beneath overgrown streets and silent ruins, the stage was set for a slow reawakening, a rebirth that would prepare London to rise again beneath new rulers and evolving cultures. In the chill of northern winds, during the 8th century, the River Thames became both a lifeline and a threat. From distant fjords, longships with carved dragon prows slipped silently through fog, bringing Viking raiders to the shores of England. Their arrival reshaped the fragile remnants of Roman Britain, where Anglo-Saxon communities had begun to reclaim scattered ruins. Londinium, still defined by the skeletal remains of Roman walls, became a prize coveted for its strategic location, a crossing point for trade, a gateway to inland resources, and a symbol of authority. Kings and local lords rallied to defend the city, reinforcing walls, organizing militias, and asserting centralized control. Amid the tension of invasion and recovery, London's streets slowly awakened with merchants, craftsmen, and coins clinking across wooden planks, the city stirring back to life under the shadow of looming raids. By the 9th century, Viking longships repeatedly appeared on the Thames, their sails catching the low sun as raids struck fear into riverside settlements. Anglo-Saxon leaders, recognizing that ad hoc defenses were insufficient, reinforced the Roman walls, built watchtowers, and coordinated garrisons to protect the heart of commerce. Markets buzzed cautiously with traders from Scandinavia, Frisia, and the continent, exchanging amber, silver, textiles, and salt. Coins stamped with local kings' faces circulated widely, asserting authority even amid uncertainty. London became a city of paradox, a target for destruction and a hub of vibrant exchange. Stories of sudden attacks, daring defenses, and negotiated truces echoed through wooden halls. And yet, even as the city survived one assault after another, a larger struggle loomed: the question of whether London could endure, adapt, and rise above the chaos that threatened its very foundations. Over decades, London emerged from the shadow of Viking terror transformed. The city's rebuilt walls and organized garrisons enabled safer trade, drawing merchants and settlers into a more permanent urban rhythm. Anglo-Saxon kings consolidated power, centralizing governance and fostering a shared sense of civic identity. Churches and monasteries anchored spiritual and cultural life, while coins, markets, and river crossings reinforced London's role as a commercial and political hub. By the time Viking raids waned in the late 10th century, the city had become one of England's most vital centers, resilient and strategically vital. From abandoned Roman streets to fortified Saxon stronghold, London had proven that survival depended on adaptation and unity, a lesson that would prepare it for the dramatic transformations of the Norman era to come. In the autumn of 1066, the fields of Hastings trembled beneath the clash of Norman cavalry and Anglo-Saxon shield walls. Victory fell to William, Duke of Normandy, a man whose ambition would forever reshape England. As news of the conquest spread, the newly crowned king turned his gaze to the Thames, recognizing London's strategic and symbolic power. The city, still defined by its Saxon streets and Roman foundations, represented the heart of England, both politically and economically. William approached not only with armies, but with calculated diplomacy, negotiating allegiance while asserting dominance. Beneath autumn skies, timber structures rose alongside stone fortifications, and the foundations of what would become the Tower of London began to take shape, a looming symbol of Norman authority and the permanence of conquest. The Tower of London rose swiftly on the eastern bank of the Thames, its white stone walls dominating the skyline, a silent reminder that rebellion would meet swift reprisal. Norman administrators replaced local officials, introducing new systems of law, taxation, and land tenure that bound England more tightly to continental Europe. Markets expanded as merchants and craftsmen were drawn to the royal court, bringing trade, goods, and ideas from across Normandy and beyond. Streets buzzed with the rhythms of construction, coinage, and commerce, while the old Saxon guard watched warily from shadowed alleys. London became both fortress and engine, a city where power was exercised as much through architecture as through decree. And yet, even as Norman influence solidified, beneath the tower's imposing shadow, whispers of dissent lingered, waiting for the cracks in authority to. Over time, William's vision transformed London into the unchallenged heart of the kingdom. Royal courts, administrative offices, and treasuries centralized authority, while the tower stood as both prison and symbol, a reminder of the consequences of defiance. Anglo-Saxon traditions blended cautiously with Norman customs, producing a hybrid culture that shaped governance, law, and civic life for generations. London's streets grew busier, its markets richer, and its influence radiated outward, connecting the monarchy to distant provinces and continental trade networks. From the ashes of conquest, a resilient city emerged, fortified, orderly, and politically indispensable. Thus began an era that cemented London as the permanent center of English power, a foundation upon which centuries of monarchy, commerce, and culture would be built. In the cool dawn of the 12th century, London's streets pulsed with renewed life. Timber structures had given way to stone, and bridges spanning the Thames replaced creaking wooden planks, guiding merchants and travelers across the river. Narrow lanes brimmed with artisans, bakers, blacksmiths, and traders, their voices mingling with the clatter of carts and the call of town criers. Trade guilds organized craftsmen, ensuring standards while consolidating influence, and waves of migrants from the countryside fueled the city's relentless expansion. Wealth flowed into markets, filling warehouses and coins into chests, yet prosperity brought exposure. Fires, disease, and social tension lingered as shadows over commerce. Amid this dynamic growth, the foundations of civic governance strengthened, and London's citizens began to glimpse the power of self-organization. A city learning that authority could rise not only from kings, but from collective effort. By the mid-14th century, London faced a threat unlike any before. In 1348, the Black Death arrived, carried along trade routes and merchant ships, striking indiscriminately at nobles, merchants, and laborers alike. Streets that once hummed with industry fell silent, markets emptied, and the stench of decay mingled with the smoke of hastily burned pyres. Families vanished, workshops shuttered, and entire neighborhoods were depopulated. Fear and faith dominated daily life, as clergy offered prayers and citizens struggled to understand why death had come so swiftly. Yet amid despair, resilience quietly emerged. Labor became scarce, wages rose, and guilds gained unprecedented leverage. Civic institutions, tasked with maintaining order and provisioning the city, adapted rapidly, demonstrating that even in catastrophe, the mechanisms of society could endure. And as survivors began to rebuild, the question lingered. How would a city scarred by plague reimagine its future? From the ashes of devastation, London slowly reemerged, its streets repopulate and its markets revived. Guilds expanded their influence, regulating trade and ensuring skilled labor maintained quality, while civic authorities grew stronger, asserting control over sanitation, commerce, and justice. The city's population adapted to new social hierarchies, with labor shortages empowering the working class in ways previously unimaginable. Churches and public spaces became centers of communal resilience, blending fear with renewed faith. By the late 14th century, London had transformed once again, a city tempered by crisis, yet emboldened by recovery. From catastrophe arose opportunity, and the lessons of plague, governance, and collective rebuilding would echo through the centuries, preparing London for the turbulent eras of monarchy, rebellion, and Renaissance yet to come. In the dawn of the 16th century, beneath skies streaked with smoke from chimneys and hearths, London stirred as never before. The Tudor dynasty had ascended, and with monarchs like Henry VII and later Elizabeth I, the city became a focal point of national ambition. Timber-framed houses crowded narrow streets, yet grand halls, guild halls, and the occasional stone mansion reflected the rising wealth of merchants and courtiers. The Thames, busy with ships from the continent, carried silks, wine, and spices, signaling London's expanding influence in global trade. Religion and politics intertwined, as the Reformation reshaped faith and governance, challenging citizens to navigate loyalty, belief, and survival. Beneath the shadow of looming palaces, Londoners sensed a transformation underway. The city was becoming a cultural, economic, and political stage for a nation poised on the brink of modernity. By the mid-16th century, London thrived as a hub of commerce, culture, and political intrigue. The bustling docks of the Thames brought merchants from France, the Low Countries, and beyond, their goods spilling into markets teeming with silks, spices, and silver. Theaters rose along the city's edges, where playwrights and actors began crafting works that captured both the grandeur and the grit of urban life. Yet prosperity existed alongside tension. Religious upheaval following Henry VIII's break with Rome stirred both fear and fervor, as Protestant reformers and Catholic loyalists vied for influence. Guilds regulated trade, apprenticeships, and civic order, while Elizabethan councils sought to manage population, taxation, and public morality. London had become a city of paradox, vibrant and chaotic, wealthy and precarious, a stage upon which the ambitions of rulers, merchants, and commoners intertwined. And as the city's streets pulsed with energy and rumor, whispers of rebellion and ambition lingered, hinting at the challenges and opportunities yet to unfold. By the close of the 16th century, London had fully embraced its role as England's political and cultural heart. The city's streets were alive with commerce, theater, and learning, while its port connected England to the wider world. Civic institutions, strengthened over decades, maintained order and fostered a sense of collective identity among increasingly diverse populations. Elizabethan London balanced on a knife's edge, prosperity intertwined with vulnerability, ambition shadowed by uncertainty. From the growth of trade to the flowering of art and architecture, the city had transformed, demonstrating resilience, creativity, and adaptability. Beneath its timbered roofs and along the bustling river, the foundations of modern London were being laid, a city poised to enter an era of empire, exploration, and enduring global influence. In the dawn of the 17th century, London thrummed with energy and vulnerability alike. Narrow streets wound chaotically between timber-framed houses, markets overflowed with merchants, and the Thames carried the ceaseless rhythm of commerce. Yet beneath the city's bustle, unseen threats brewed. In 1665, the Great Plague swept through London, a relentless tide of fever and despair. Families vanished, bell tolls marked daily deaths, and the streets grew silent under the shadow of mortality. Fear and superstition clung as tightly as grief, and yet the human instinct to survive persisted. Shops reopened cautiously, trades adapted, and civic authorities struggled to maintain order. The city teetered between collapse and continuity, unaware that within a year, fire, another force of nature and human error, would challenge London's endurance even further. In September 1666, flames ignited in a bakery on Pudding Lane, and within hours, a roaring inferno consumed vast stretches of medieval London. Timber houses, narrow alleys, and bustling markets were engulfed as the fire raced with wind, leaping across the Thames to threaten the city's heart. Citizens fled with what they could carry, the roar of collapsing roofs and crackling beams filling the smoky air. Amid chaos, leaders coordinated demolition of buildings to halt the fire's advance, while churches, warehouses, and civic buildings teetered on the edge of destruction. By the time the flames died, nearly 80% of the city lay in ruin. Yet in the ash and ruin, vision began to stir. Planners, architects, and citizens imagined streets wider than before, buildings stronger, sanitation improved, and a city redesigned to endure. And as smoke lifted over shattered rooftops, the promise of, from the ashes of devastation, London rose again, reshaped and fortified. Timber gave way to stone and brick, streets were straightened and widened, and fire breaks reduced future risk. Monumental churches, public halls, and warehouses reflected order, resilience, and ambition, signaling that destruction could birth renewal. Civic authorities implemented sanitation reforms, planning measures, and building regulations, laying the groundwork for a more organized urban life. Merchants returned to rebuilt markets, artisans resumed craft, and the Thames once again carried commerce between London and the wider world. The city had endured plague, fire, and fear, emerging safer, cleaner, and more modern than before. From catastrophe came opportunity, proving that London's survival depended not only on endurance, but on collective vision, a lesson that would guide the city through centuries yet to unfold. In the dawn of the 18th century, London pulsed with energy drawn from the farthest corners of the globe. Ships crowded the Thames, their hulls heavy with sugar from the Caribbean, spices from India, and gold and silver from the Americas. The city's skyline was marked by cranes, warehouses, and the chimneys of merchant houses, while streets thrummed with sailors, clerks, and traders exchanging news and commodities. Institutions like the British East India Company and the Royal Exchange transformed commerce into organized empire, linking London to continents across oceans. Wealth flowed into banks and insurance markets, funding ventures that reshaped economies and societies. Yet prosperity was inseparable from exploitation. Colonial expansion and the transatlantic slave trade were the hidden currents beneath the city's glittering surface. London had become more than a city. It was a nerve center of global power, its fortunes entwined with distant empires, trade winds, and human ambition. By mid-century, London's docks overflowed with activity. Timber quays groaned under crates of tea, cotton, tobacco, and rum, while sailors and dockworkers shouted over the roar of hoisting pulleys and creaking ships. Merchants negotiated in counting houses, their ledgers recording profits drawn from every ocean. Banks and insurance offices rose along widened streets, transforming the city into a hub of financial innovation. Yet this wealth was shadowed by moral and human costs. Enslaved Africans, forced laborers, and exploited colonial populations supplied the goods that lined London's markets. Intellectuals, clergy, and political thinkers debated the ethics of empire even as the city expanded, its power radiating into every corner of the globe. And as ships set sail on new ventures, London's identity shifted, no longer just the heart of England, but a conduit of trade, culture, and influence whose reach extended across continents, shaping lives far beyond its banks. By the late 18th century, London had cemented its role as the beating heart of global commerce. The docks, warehouses, and counting houses teemed with wealth, while streets echoed with the footsteps of merchants, artisans, and immigrants drawn to opportunity. Financial institutions matured, offering credit, insurance, and speculation that fueled ever greater ventures overseas. Yet the city's grandeur rested upon profound inequalities, with colonial labor and the slave trade underpinning its prosperity. Still, London's influence was undeniable. Its culture, politics, and economy shaped continents, and its ideas traveled as far as its goods. From a medieval city of survival to a capital of global ambition, London had become a world stage, a metropolis whose pulse now dictated the rhythms of empire itself, preparing it for the revolutionary upheavals of the coming centuries. In the dawn of the 19th century, beneath the thick smoke rising from countless chimneys, London surged into an era of unprecedented transformation. The Industrial Revolution had arrived, and under the reign of Queen Victoria, the city expanded outward and upward with relentless energy. Railways cut through neighborhoods, linking districts and connecting London to the broader country, while factories filled the air with the rhythmic clang of machinery and the hiss of steam. Streets teemed with laborers, merchants, and migrants seeking opportunity, their lives woven into the city's growing industrial fabric. Amid this dynamism, wealth and squalor existed side by side. Opulent townhouses overlooked crowded alleys where disease and poverty persisted. The stakes were immense. A city striving to assert itself as the engine of empire while confronting the human cost of progress, its identity in flux between innovation and adversity. By mid-century, London had become a sprawling metropolis, its skyline dominated by factories, warehouses, and railway stations. Underground tunnels were carved to ease the pressure of movement, while engineers redesigned bridges and roads to accommodate growing traffic. The roar of steam engines and the clatter of horse-drawn carts filled the air, punctuated by the cries of street vendors and the chatter of markets. Yet alongside progress, the city grappled with crisis. Overcrowded slums bred disease, industrial accidents claimed lives, and the relentless pace of labor exposed deep social inequalities. Reformers, philanthropists, and civic leaders began advocating for public health, education, and workers' rights. London had become a city of contrasts, a place where innovation and hardship collided, where human ambition and suffering intertwined, and where the very machinery of progress threatened to overwhelm the people who powered it. By the late 19th century, London had emerged as both a marvel of industrial ingenuity and a crucible of social transformation. Modern sewer systems carried waste away from crowded streets, railways and underground lines connected districts in unprecedented ways, and public institutions, schools, hospitals, and libraries offered new opportunities for education and welfare. Factories continued to hum, yet labor laws and reform movements gradually improved working conditions, reflecting the city's growing awareness of the human cost of progress. Victorian London stood as a testament to ambition, resilience, and adaptation, a metropolis simultaneously dazzling and daunting, where the engine of industry propelled empire and urban life into the modern age. From this era of expansion and challenge, London prepared to confront the global upheavals of the 20th century. In the dawn of the 20th century, London had already become a sprawling metropolis, yet the shadows of global conflict soon stretched across its streets. By 1940, under the resolute leadership of Winston Churchill, the city faced a test unlike any before. The Luftwaffe rained fire and explosives over homes, factories, and historic landmarks in the Blitz, reducing entire neighborhoods to rubble. Smoke and sirens filled the night, while the roar of engines and the cries of citizens punctuated the chaos. Underground stations became sanctuaries from the destruction above, where families huddled in darkness, sharing whispered prayers and quiet determination. Amid the devastation, a profound resilience emerged. Londoners refused to surrender to fear, maintaining shops, schools, and community life even as flames consumed the skyline. The city teetered between ruin and endurance, a living testament to courage under fire. Night after night, incendiary bombs set the city ablaze, turning familiar streets into rivers of fire and ash. St. Paul's Cathedral miraculously stood amidst the inferno, a symbol of defiance that inspired both soldiers and civilians. Firefighters battled against overwhelming odds, while volunteers cleared debris and salvaged what they could from collapsed homes. Children were evacuated to the countryside, yet those who remained witnessed a city transformed by destruction and courage. London's economy strained under rationing and disruption, yet factories continued to produce munitions and markets adapted to scarcity. Morale, though tested, remained unbroken. Newspapers printed stories of heroism and resilience, broadcasting hope across bombed neighborhoods. As the nights stretched into months, the rhythm of survival became both ordinary and extraordinary, and the question lingered in every shattered alleyway. When the war finally ended, London emerged from smoke and rubble with a battered but unbowed spirit. Reconstruction reshaped the city. Housing projects replaced destroyed neighborhoods, modern infrastructure improved daily life, and the welfare state sought to protect citizens from future hardship. Memorials rose alongside rebuilt streets, honoring sacrifice while inspiring renewal. The Blitz had tested the city's endurance, yet London's survival became a symbol of national resilience and democratic identity. From the ashes of destruction, a modern metropolis took shape, one that carried the scars of war yet radiated hope, innovation, and determination. Beneath the skyline of cranes and restored spires, London proved that even in the darkest nights, a city's heart could endure, preparing it for the global transformations of the post-war world. In the wake of World War II, London emerged from shadows of destruction into a world reshaped by decolonization and global exchange. The city's skyline, scarred by war, began to recover as new housing, public spaces, and transport networks stitched neighborhoods together. Immigrants from the Caribbean, South Asia, and Africa arrived in waves, bringing languages, foods, music, and traditions that infused London with vibrancy and complexity. Streets once lined with factories now hosted markets and cultural centers, reflecting a metropolis that was no longer defined solely by empire, but by human movement, creativity, and aspiration. Financial institutions revived, infrastructure modernized, and the city prepared to reclaim its role on the global stage. London had become a living mosaic of history and possibility, where each wave of arrival layered new stories upon centuries of memory. By the late 20th century, London's economic and cultural landscape transformed at unprecedented speed. The deregulation of financial markets in the 1980s, the Big Bang, turned the city into a powerhouse of global finance, its banks, insurance firms, and trading floors rivaling New York and Tokyo. Skyscrapers rose alongside medieval churches and Georgian terraces, blending history with innovation. Art galleries, theaters, and universities attracted talent from every continent, while transport arteries pulsed with commuters, tourists, and entrepreneurs. Politics and trade were increasingly shaped by connections to Europe and beyond, even as debates over identity, migration, and globalization unfolded in the streets. The city's vibrancy was inseparable from its complexity, a place where wealth and diversity coexisted, and where the legacy of centuries past collided with the challenges and opportunities of a global age. In the 21st century, London stands as a testament to resilience, adaptation, and ambition. Towering financial districts coexist with historic landmarks. Multicultural neighborhoods celebrate music, cuisine, and art from every corner of the globe. Technology hubs, universities, and diplomatic institutions cement its role as a center of innovation and influence. Yet beneath its modern pulse, the city carries echoes of every era: Roman foundations, medieval walls, Victorian streets, and wartime scars, a living archive of human endeavor. London's story is one of continuous reinvention, proving that a city can honor its past while shaping the future. From ancient crossing of rivers to global crossroads of ideas and commerce, London remains a city forever in motion, forever at the heart of history itself.